we are back, and this time I just want to quickly like create a mountain. We don't need to do like a lot of detail and stuff because it's far back, and we also have some fog, but we still want to have like a nice atmosphere. So what I will just do, I will just drag in the mountain here, and then you can see yes, but it's not really high. So let's always try to see this from a lower perspective. So maybe, and then we can do a bulky and change the seat. So we have a different mountain until we have something we like. So maybe like this, and you can also increase the edge if you want to, so that this is a little smaller. So let me do something like this. And you can also increase the scale. So go for something which looks good, right? So we can also change the viewport settings here and the skybox. So let's do the sun. So let's rotate this 360. So maybe we want to have something like this. Let's see a different perspective. So let's try to see like what kind of mountain. So maybe this side is nice, and we should have the light is basically coming from behind, but still we want to have soft lighting. So this is really strong. Let's just try and find a nice spot for your mountain. And also let's change the seat when you're not really satisfied. You can do this, of course, until you are happy. So I would just keep this view and try to find something until I'm happy. So this is a good option maybe. So let's do this and increase the scale. So it is already at max. And then you can also go to the viewport settings, atmosphere, decrease the exposure a little bit, and let's do area perspective. So you have that. So let's go for something like this maybe, because we are going to have fog. And sun intensity, you can always crank up. So let's just have a little bit of sun intensity. And you can also decrease the shadows here. So let's just remove the shadows in this case and increase the haze. If this is going to do something, air intensity or density basically. So let's go for something like this. Okay. Now for the mountain, we can add an erosion. So let's try to go for an erosion. So you have this erosion stuff. So let's try the alluvium first. And let's see how this is going to look. And you can see now this is much softer. So if you click on this, now alluvium is giving you like more sediments. Let's get more. Apply changes. Let's do less. So let's go for something softer. Then we can go for the deposits. Which gives us even more. Let's do less sediments though. Iterations, let's do more. Decrease the flow. But I don't really like deposit because it's just too like horizontal. The definition here we have, the detail. Fluvial is also some type of erosion. So let's try this. This is a little different. We can increase the duration to make it even more. So yeah, but I don't like this style of like this going down. A nice thing you can always do is the erosion itself. But we should switch this up. So let's delete this. Let's get the erosion first. And then we do alluvium. And we can increase the duration of the erosion. Don't be, you need to be careful with this. And now this already looks pretty sweet. But I think we should decrease the height and then increase the scale. So yeah, now this is much more flat. So try to change a couple of things. So it's pretty simple to do. This gives us a nice depth, so we can use that and maybe get a transform. Get the transform here. And what transform does is basically just scale this one up. So let's make it bigger. You can, of course, change the rotation. So maybe you want to have this side, and I think this is pretty nice. This is pretty cool. And this is basically it. And then you can also increase the resolution here, which you should. For preview, we do 1K, and now you can see this like a huge difference. We will export this to 4K, so we're going to have a lot of definition, but I think like 2K, even for preview sometimes could be nice. So look at that. This is like pretty amazing. So now let's try to get maps. So the first map you need to do is the displacement. When we just mark this for export, so right click and mark for export, and then we click on build. We should use this as an EXR file, and resolution should be 4K. Then we have even more definition like this. Then we should we need height maps. So this means, let me search for those maps. So here, this orange one, data. So let me just explain to you. We have one map which is called angle. It's pretty boring, to be honest. So the angle is, when we go to angle properties, is just like a light map, something like this. If you want to have that, if you want to bake the light, you can just mask this if you want. You can also down here, you can invert this, like so. And this is basically I like a little bit of like baking ambient occlusion. You can see if you need a map like this. This means everything which is white here would be affected for texturing, and everything which is black would not be affected if you need this. So it's basically like a light map. Then we have a curvature. So curvature is like edge where it's getting like those creases, the definition. So everything which is white on those fine lines will be affected. And you can also go for a min and max. So we can make this sharper, basically. So let's do min. Let's increase this. And increase this a little bit. Or you can also decrease. So this is really contrasty, to be honest. So you can use something like this. And then change the fall off. So this is more saddle. So now this, and then you can invert this. Boom. And then you have those creases affected. And then you can decrease the fall off to make it really sharp. Or get this a little softer. But this is also something we can change in Substance Painter with the levels. So we can, of course, we can sharpen the mask or make it soft. So this is something, but you should have a nice presetting here. So let's try and get some definition here. Okay, so I think this is fine. Let's see, you can see, yeah, basically it's giving us those edgy things. So we get the curvature map and we mark this one for export. So the curvature should be PNG and 4K. Then what we need is the so-called slope. Pretty important. And the slope, let's see what you can do here. So everything which is basically black here, it's all the mask. It will not be affected in for texturing. And then we can decrease the max, decrease it a little more, and increase this one. And let's do sharper, or maybe a little so we should always have this a little sharp to get better, like a stronger mask. And you can aim for something like this. So then we can also have some color variation maybe here for this map. So let's just mark this one for export as well. And we make sure that the slope is also PNG. And then we need to have a soil. And let's increase the power. Let's do graded. Okay, so, then let's increase it a little more. And you can also do auto level, equalize, min, max, which is basically like height. Invert this. Clamp. So we can make this. This is also like levels. Drop to floor. You can use a shaper here. So let's just increase the shaper. Or decrease. And now what you can do, we can basically try to get like a snow map. So how can we basically get how can we create like snow sediments? We want to mask out the snow sediments. So let's try the slope again. Let's increase the fall off to something like this. And let's do classic style, which is horrible, so we don't do that. So slope means we just try to mask the angle, which makes the most sense for focusing on snow. You can use this as a snow map. And if you don't like it, you can get a combine. Just get a combine node. You can also find the combine node here on the left side. And then we can get a curvature. So the slope, and we mask it together with the curvature. And I want to add this mask. Now we can play with the curvature here. but we need to fix the curvature. So let's invert this again. No, don't invert. And then let's try. Yeah, go for something like this, and let's level. No, blur. Yes, we need to blur, and now we can invert. So we mask out the rocks so that we get sediments. And for this map, we also mask out a couple of rocks and some sediments here. Let's do something like this. And then we can blur this. Let me increase the fall off. Decrease, because it's inverted. Equalize. Just try different things. This is nice. This is pretty nice. So let's do blur more. We don't need. Let's do a clamp now. Okay, we don't need a clamp. It's not really going to work. Shaper. Yeah, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. So now we have that, and when we just see the combine, now you can see what you can do here. You can also swap inputs. And now we got ourselves a nice snow map. Clamp. Drop to floor. Let's try clip instead. Yes, drop to floor. And we want to mask out all those things. So this is like one thing we can do to basically now have snow with enough definition. So this is just a snow mask, right? But there's also a different approach. You can mask. So you can just delete the connection here. Let's reconnect, to be honest. Okay, so now I have a snow map I really like. I'm fine with this. We can also go and do maybe a little more cuts. So let's get this up. And you can do like how much you wanna have for the rocks, like how much is visible for the rocks. Maybe something like this. Good that you still have some definition here, that you can see rocks coming through, but we have sediments here on top. So we can mark for export this stuff. So just click on this and mark for export. And the combine we call snow. And this is also PNG. We will export those four things. So the transform is the actual displacement. This means we can go into Blender with this map and displace this mountain. Then we can use the curvature. This is the curvature. And get some, let me also blur this. I don't like this being so sharp. Yeah. This is basically the curvature map. And we can just rename this to rocks. And then we have a slope. This is the slope. And this is also something we can do different stuff, maybe color variation. Let me increase the max. You can also let's do something like this, more settle. And the slope is, yeah, it's the slope, it's angle based. It's just angle based, so we can maybe get more like color variations, a different texture here on those slopes. Depends. So we have four textures, three textures for texturing and one texture for the actual geometry. We can export this to 4K and we find ourselves a output. So let's do this here inside little resources. This is something I will provide for you. This is called mountain. And let's just get it here. And we start the build. And in the next one, let's do also here, sorry. Downloads, sanitary resources, mountain. And we call this one mountain. Just mountain, it's just one. And now it's building on my second monitor. And in the next episode, we will proceed doing this stuff in Blender. So we create the mountain, actual geometry. And then we will put this inside Substance Painter pretty quick. And then we will import this into Unreal Engine.